So I'm just going to give a bit of history, but I'd start with just a little bit of sort of we're well aware that this isn't an official WEP group. Someone from WEP might, Erin Mansell might come in and join this meeting, but she hasn't turned up yet. And we all found each other really probably starting with the removal from post of Heather Brunskill Evans. She was removed as Vogue's spokesperson back in 2017. Well, I think it must have been early 2018 that she's actually removed after she appeared on the Moral Maze and wrote a couple of articles, one of which appeared in the Times, and complaints went in against her. And at that point, I think a lot of people from WEP actually left. Anyone who was gender critical, anyone who believed in sex-based rights, felt that speech shouldn't be silenced in that way. And that was the first time that we learned of the sentence in the policy document. For those of you who haven't read the policy document, it's it's got 7 policy areas, and then it's got a preamble, and it's not overly clear what's a policy and what's just text that's explanatory text. But in the sort of introductory bit, it does say that anyone can self-identify their sex or their gender or reject gendered divisions. And I think Sarah's going to pick up a bit more about that. So you can read the whole sentence out, can't you, Sarah, later? But I think I was surprised. I'd read the policy document and hadn't picked up on it. I'd probably thought, well, I reject gendered divisions. I'm not, I don't think they should exist. So that was my take. And then we had the motion put forward to conference in 2018, around the time that there was the Gender Recognition Act consultation by the government, and many of us were really surprised that WEP national office, head office, had accepted, or the steering group, whoever it was who accepts the motions, had accepted the motion, because we kind of felt like there'd been no discussion to that point about self-ID. We just ratified the entirety of the policy document without any discussion about the policy document. And we were quite, a lot of us didn't see it as, in a sense, WEP's place to be discussing the Gender Recognition Act and making policy relating to the Gender Recognition Act. So I think some of us were just surprised, when actually probably what we felt would be more natural thing to do would be to be talking about sex-based rights. And I was very vocal on Twitter and Facebook, and kept commenting on threads, and other people said, come on, let's join forces. A few of us found each other, essentially, set up a secret Facebook group and started talking and emailing, set up a Trello group, started sharing lots of information. And various of those people, most of those people are still on board, some of them are quite silent. And that's really led, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for the consultation to start, and WEP took 23 months to get to a point of telling us, right, this is how it's going to be. And now it all seems to be steamrollering through without much, I would say, time to let all the other members actually catch up and have an opportunity to participate. So that's where we are. We have no leaders. We are a collective. We welcome anyone who would like to be involved and is interested in protecting sex-based rights. We're not anti-trans. We're quite clear that we're not anti-trans. We respect people and their life choices, but we believe in the upholding the sex-based rights within the Equality Act 2010. So who am I handing over to next, Ali or Sarah? Ali. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it there. Ali's gonna tell us a bit. I'm going to spotlight you, Ali.
Thank you. Right, can everyone hear me okay? Because sometimes my laptop's a bit glitchy. Fab. Okay, so we've kind of had a loose chat about how we're going to present what we are and what we're doing today. So I just want to talk a bit about our actual campaign and organising within WEP. Again, what we believe and how we're going to try and achieve kind of our aims. I mean, what we're about really, Bodo's already spoken about that. What we want as women and I will push this home, as committed members of the Women's Equality Party, is that we want the Women's Equality Party and broadly speaking, the other parties and legislators to make high quality, lasting policy that really impacts on addressing the marginalisation that women and girls face in the UK. And I think that is something that I think would unite everybody in the Women's Equality Party, and it would hopefully unite everybody that's joining our meeting today. Our concerns are that self-ID, the broader debate around it, has been very poor quality. It's been very hostile. There's been a lot of half facts, misinformation being spread around. And obviously, in order to make long-term, lasting quality policy that does what it's supposed to do, that's going to be helpful for nobody on either side. I don't like the language of sides, but for want of a better turn of phrase. So we've seen the broader debate around this with Stonewall, for example, have been quite dishonest. They've been campaigning and lobbying the government to remove sex as a protected characteristic from Equality 2010 and replace that with a notion of gender identity. I won't explain too much about that because I think probably everybody here knows what that means, but that means that women will not be measured according to our sex, but according to who identifies or would like to be perceived as a woman, which is obviously problematic. So moving from what's been happening in a more wider sense, moving back to Women's Equality Party, we're kind of seeing a microcosm really for what's happening, which is that in the absence of high quality debate and in the absence of high quality information, what we've seen is half facts, a lot of toxicity, a lot of harassment of good people, especially committed political activists, who have largely spent their life on the right side of history, you know, advocating for people that face subjugation on a systemic level. So it's been very disheartening seeing women that have spent a lot of time campaigning grassroots and upwards, kind of being demonised and being discredited when they share information. So this brings me back to what we're trying to achieve in WEP. We are, as I said earlier, committed members. We're not trying to bring a wrecking ball to WEP. We're not trying to disrupt. We're not trying to discredit anybody. But since we were formed, we've been trying to engage with Central Office about our concerns and asking them to make commitments, which they by and large haven't on any level really engaged with us, which is a shame because WEP is supposed to be doing politics differently. They pride themselves at doing cross-party work, which means that they should be able to work with people with a variety of views and opinions and backgrounds and issues. And we're seeing that they're failing to do this within their own party, which is really sad. We are not wanting to blow the whistle on this. We are desperately trying to do what we can to get Central Office and the party mechanisms to engage with us in good faith and constructively, which seems to more or less degree isn't essentially happening yet. So our strategy is as follows. It's not really a strategy. We want to provide everybody within Women's Equality Party with high quality information about what sex self-ID means for women and girls, and also for men and boys, and also for people who identify as trans and transsexuals. I know there's been a lot of concerns around a lot of people who would define themselves as transsexuals, that self-ID weakens the protections that they have under Equality 2010. So this is a big and complex matter, and it can't be simply pushed through under the banner of being nice and kind. We all want to be nice and kind, but we also need to be grown up to make quality policy that does what it's supposed to do. So we gathered a lot of support. I got in trouble from Sarah the other day because I said we had 850 signatures on our petition. That's not true. I think it's 1,095 or something now, the Work Sisters. The women on that petition are all members of WEP, or they're all supporters of WEP, or they're all ex-members and supporters of WEP. So women who are specifically engaged within WEP on border issues and are concerned about this. So we've demonstrated that we're not lunatics from the fringes of the internet, that there is a lot of support for us. The next thing we have is our website. I'll pop a link in the chat in a minute. I'm not sure if people have seen it or not. It's still being built because although there's lots of us, we all work, it's all summer holidays, we all have children, care and commitments, etc. But we are building the website. What we want, because the WEP consultation is going to look at how, or they say it's going to look at how sex self-ID impacts on each of WEP's 7 policy areas. For those that don't know what they are, health, violence against women and girls, equal pay, equal parenting, equal education, and treatment in the media. So what we really want to do is set up have the website so that every single page is a basic response to how, not just how we feel that self-ID will impact on those areas, but how it's been evidenced that sex self-ID will impact on those areas. I think so far we have a glossary up, which is very useful because that explains a lot of terms and a lot of language around this. I believe we have something up on health at the minute. Borg is coming this weekend. I think education will be coming up this weekend as well. So really have a look at those, because we don't really have a lot of faith in the consultation as it's designed, that high quality information is going to be disseminated. Hopefully we're going to be wrong. Hopefully WEP Central Office will engage with us. But what we want is to have a go-to where people can trust the respectful evidence-based information that we're putting up, because if WEP brush this and they make poor policy, the policy is not going to last. We know they're spending quite a lot of money on this process already, and it's just going to damage the party, and when it damages the party, it damages our ability to advocate for women and girls, which I think as feminists is why we're all here. I'll wrap up because I've been going on a bit. I've got so much to say. Also, we are emailing and trying to have a respectful dialogue with head office. We do this via our Facebook page and our Twitter. And then on our website, we publish, we will be publishing opinion pieces, but also any email exchange we have with head office, we're putting on there. And we're not doing that to try and expose anybody or hurt anybody. We're doing that because there seems to be a lack of transparency and information. And we think that as grown folk and as grown women, we should all be able to talk about this. It should all be out in the open, and it should be respectful. And that there's no place for private agendas within a healthy political party. So we're not too sure what's going on there. But, you know, it's a shame Erin did say she wanted to come today. I'm not sure if she is or not. But ignoring us is not going to help make good policy, and it's not going to help the Women's Equality Party either. When they talk about inclusion, this is inclusion for everybody. And as we know, women already have a lot of barriers to equal participation in society, and being shut down by a party that's supposed to understand that is just not good enough. But we have every faith that if we continue to be reasonable, given good quality information, we can help steer the ship to make better policies for all of us. That's it. Back to you, Fodo.
Thank you, Ali. That's great. I'm just gonna. Well, yeah. I'm just. That was a brilliant catch up. Do check out the website. It went into the chat box. If everyone noticed, Charlotte was the fastest on the ball there. So, but you can, if you go, we have got our Facebook page, and I'm assuming everyone's seen that, but if you haven't, it's actually called WEP Women's Sex-Based Rights Caucus, with a hyphen between sex and based, because Charlotte believes in proper grammatically written things, and we get told off by Charlotte if we don't put the hyphen in. So it's I always forget the hyphen and the capitals most of the time. But anyway, so do check out that, because then that's also got the link, and we share things backwards and forwards from the website. But the website's very new, and I haven't done my bit yet. My background is an education in the main, but also I'm an ex planner and planning enforcement officer, so which feels like a long time ago, and I'm a town councillor, so I'm interested in like public sector duties and stuff around the Equality Act. But we are going to build on that. But right now, I'm going to hand over to Sarah. Yes, Sarah's going to talk to us. Okay, let me spotlight you, unmute you, Sarah, and spotlight you. You might have to unmute yourself. It didn't work unmuting you.
I'm in. Hello, can you hear me? Thank you, Fede. Yeah, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we're doing sort of within the realms of the party and the framework that's available to us as members, kind of really just leading on from what Ali's already brilliantly said, because it's important to add that we are invested in this party. It's massively important to us. A lot of us have been here since the beginning. We want it to be successful. We want it to do everything that the party clearly set out to do at the beginning. And this caucus is formed to give voice to members who feel a bit politically homeless at the moment, and who've obviously either left or considering leaving as well, because we're really trying to pull everyone together now, to stop that flow of people leaving, and to actually make sure that we stay together and that we are heard as part of the party, within everything that's going on right now, to try and claim that space back, really. So we're not disruptors. We're not going to allow our party to form a standpoint in a bubble either, though, without consideration of the wider implications. So, as Ali said, we're here really to push for really good information for everybody who's maybe a bit outside of this issue or hasn't really had the time to consider it, so that we're just very clear that people are able to form a view and for that to be heard. After all, defining women as a sex class that needs rights and protections is central to feminist political action, and to being able to secure these rights in law and in policy. So we need to keep women front and centre of the WEP, of all their actions and all our discussions. So we're able as a collective to use our combined voice and eyes to monitor what's going on and ensure that sex-based rights are safeguarded and at the heart of policy and debate, as a kind of unrefuted bedrock of every subject that we tackle, really. So far we've done this through, as Ali said, really respectful direct correspondence with the party, central office, with the policy committee, the steering committee and the leadership. We've asked questions about the consultation, and we've suggested maybe how it could be improved. For example, we talked about balance and fairness. We did point out to them that initially they'd set out with 2 chairs who were both named on the original 2018 motion, and we felt that it would be better to have more of a balance in the people who are running that. So they do seem to have taken that on board, at least. They've made some changes to the chairs. So, we're going to keep talking to them, and as much as they may or may not respond, actually I think it's important that we keep on making those communications directly with them, so that they've got that information to consider, but also through social media and those kind of channels, because then we get to engage a broader audience and bring them into that discussion as well. So we're not going away, because we are WEP. We're a heart of it as much as anyone in central office is. So we keep on keeping on. So at the minute, kind of a couple of our core kind of issues at the minute are firstly around the paragraph that Photo referred to earlier. So in the policy document, there are the 7 policy areas which are listed. There's also a preamble. Within the preamble is the statement that I posted in the comment that says, we've brought together the experiences and ideas of people of all genders from across the country, including those doubly or trebly disadvantaged by their gender and other factors such as ethnicity, age, disability, family background, sexuality or religion. We also recognise that the binary words woman and man do not reflect the gender experience of everyone in our country, and support the right of all to define their sex or gender, or to reject gender divisions as they choose. So as Fredo said, that's been there from the get-go really. It kind of was sitting there for a long time, but in recent times it's been suggested that it's party line in discussions between central office and branch officers, who have been kind of really unclear about what information and what articles they're able to share around the whole self-ID issue and the motion. So really we've asked for clarity around that, because it's quite strange. It sits outside the policies, and also there's no other information around that paragraph. It stands alone, and to us it's very unclear really what it actually means and how it impacts on policy. So we know that the consultation as it is designed to look at all the policy areas and how the motion around self-ID and the GRA might impact on those. So we've asked for that paragraph to be included in that. We want that to be looked at as well. And I mean, we've suggested that it would be suspended at some point, but I think realistically our best option, hopefully within that framework, is for that paragraph to be looked at as well. We need to come out of this consultation with clarity. That's what we desperately want, and that's what we will continue to push for. So that paragraph is something that we're very aware of, and we want to make sure it doesn't get lost in the wider consultation. We've pointed out all the issues with that and asked for clarification. We've also submitted a motion. So some of you here might have heard from us and might even be named on that motion. So thank you so much if you've supported that. So we've used the mechanism around conference, which is October, to submit a motion. That motion is about supporting sex-based rights, single-sex exemptions, and asking that there is clarification around how those single-sex exemptions can and should be applied. At the minute, we're very aware that services, organisations, individuals and companies don't really understand those single-sex exemptions. They don't understand how they can use them and when it's okay to use them. And that's been pointed out in many commission reports from Women's Equalities Commission and the HRC itself. So that's another area that we are really kind of trying to use the mechanisms that exist within the party to keep coming back to sex-based rights, and actually to try and develop a strategy where they're just fundamentally accepted as vital to us as women, and that anything we do has those as the bedrock for us to move forward from. So we've used that motion. We don't know yet if that will be accepted. At the beginning of the consultation, you may be aware the party said they wouldn't accept any more motions around the 2018 motions contents, which was about the GRA and self-ID. So we don't feel that this is the same, but we're aware that potentially the party might attempt to exclude this motion because you could say it's related. So we're really waiting at the minute. We'll know within 10 days to see what their response will be to that. Hopefully it'll be accepted as it is, and then we'll be really using the caucus to push to get gender critical members to come to conference and make sure their voices heard, support motions. And we're really fortunate that we've had lovely people donate money through our website too, so we're able to help with the cost of tickets for people that maybe are struggling with that. So we're kind of really using our group and our voice to make sure information's out there about how the consultation process is working, what we're doing, what we think the issues are around it, and to try and just really build engagement. So actually we're aligned with the party who at the outset of the consultation said they just want to hear everyone's voices, they want to form consensus, they want good information. We want exactly the same thing, and that's why we're here, and that's why we are constantly offering it to them. And if they don't accept it, we're making it available with or without them. So essentially, that's where we're at. And if you can help us do that by disseminating information, you can share our tweets, our blog, our Facebook page, just get engaged in that way. You can come to conference, you can chat with us about anything that you are aware of, you can share articles with us that we can put on the website. So any of that would be massively helpful. I'm sorry I've waffled a bit, but I'll hand back to Frodo, who hopefully will make some more sense of what I've just said. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. That's brilliant.